Kingmaking.
Kingmaking.
Seen some Reddit talks again, good inspiration for podcast conversations, where people were talking about like kingmaking and like what people think is okay, was not okay, and it's one of those was I the butthole in this situation kind of stuff, right? Like, and it's usually a gray area, depends on again group and everything else going on too in the situation. And unfortunately, we only ever hear one side of the situation here. As a like a concept, I mean, would you mind explaining what kingmaking is to people quick?
So kingmaking is basically the concept of you being in a game, and usually multiplayer, and you are going to lose. There's no way for you to win, but you can essentially choose who can win. So depending on what you do, either player A will win or player B will win, depending on your choice. So you essentially can kingmake. You can pick which one will be the king. I think it's a very interesting concept, because in terms of like what to do in those scenarios, I actually think the scenario that you brought up, the situation, like the first comment, in my opinion, just answered it.
The guy was being attacked, and if he had declared blockers, it would have triggered something from the attacking opponent to gain some advantage somehow. I don't remember the specifics, but he would have been better off had the OP blocked and declared blockers and done some combat with him, right? And it's usually the other way around, right? In those situations where like, oh hey, I'm attacking you, and oh you're blocking to kill my biggest thing, and now I'm going to die because I lost my biggest thing, right? That's expected. And in this situation, he's like, okay, well, why would I help you? You're killing me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to declare any blocks. I'm dead anyways, regardless if I block or not. So whatever, I die.
Yeah.
And because of that, the attacker actually didn't get whatever benefit it was, and the third player who was still in the match ended up being able to come out on top and grasp that victory. And it's not like OP knew the guy was going to be able to grasp it or not. That's I think the big thing with that king-making story is it wasn't that he was making a king, it's that he was punishing someone for killing him.
Yeah, and the first comment was basically like, when somebody goes to kill me, I'm going to do everything I can to make it harder for them to win as punishment for killing me. And that makes total sense. For me, with king-making, I always struggle with king-making when it's a situation that it's not necessarily a particular action in that way. Like I'm a player in the situation, but it's not like somebody's attacking me, or there's just like a board state or something, basically making it that I am not going to win. I don't have enough life. I'm just whatever. But what I do, like my choice of what I have in my hand, can decide the game one way or another. That's when kingmaking gets difficult for me, because it's like, okay, do I just wait it out? Do I pick somebody? Like, what do I do? You know?
Well, it's one of the, it's an interesting situation because there's multiple scenarios where kingmaking comes up, right? One of them is this turn, I'm dead. What's happening?
Yeah.
Right. And the other one is I don't have a chance to win this game. What am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So on the this turn I'm dead one, with the one we've kind of been talking about, I fully agree that it should be expected that if you're knocking a player out of the game, that player is going to do whatever they can to sabotage you directly, because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they bite back? Why wouldn't they do whatever they can do to just punish you a little bit for killing them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to like, oh, hey, here's $50 as well because you did so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this king-making discussion kind of falls into this as well. It falls into one of the quote-unquote, for lack of a better term, problems with casual EDH. And yes, I know that the most of Commander is casual, but there is a subset, as we all know, of competitive EDH. And I find it very interesting that competitive EDH usually doesn't have these types of problems, because it is an understanding. When you sit down at the table, there is no question about power level of decks. You just assume everybody has everything in their deck. There's no question about, like, we're not pub stomping here. No, everybody is trying to pub stomp in competitive EDH. Where in casual EDH, that creates muddiness in here, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, even in that situation too, like in competitive, if people are being knocked out, they're still going to do whatever they can to kill the combo guy, whoever did it, whoever hit them. Like they're not going to just be like, okay, good game, I'm out. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna let you walk away with it. No.
Yeah, exactly. And even in my scenario where I'm saying like, oh, it's not somebody's like doing an overt act to try and that like I'm not going to win this game, but I have cards that I can choose. That's, and please, any competitive players who are listening, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that's not going to happen very often in competitive, because in competitive, you hang on until there is no hope. I'm sure there are scenarios where kingmaking can still occur, but I would imagine it doesn't come up as often. But again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. At least the way I picture it too. Like they're not going to just willy-nilly, oh hey, I'm attacking this way with this creature and I don't have a plan for lethal, right? There's always a plan when you're playing competitive.
Exactly. Like you always, know your deck, through and through. You know what you're trying to get. You know what you need, that sort of thing.
There's the other kind of kingmaking I talked about earlier, where I've seen it a lot more, and it's the part where I have more problems with it, is the let me be your Robin, I want to be second place.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, I don't have a chance to win, but just kill me last. I'll help you kill everyone else.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that, because it's like you're not taking out the big bad at the table. And I understand if it's like there's someone at the table that's the arch enemy and you're doing whatever you can to get rid of them, and like that's kind of like teaming up in that aspect. But when you team up with the arch enemy at the table,
yeah,
like what are you really doing?
It could be said that in some cases the person is doing that because it's politicking. It's part of the politicking of the game, and so it could be said that they are doing that with the hope that they can get to their win condition and therefore do the backstab. I'm sure there are a lot of cases where they're like, yeah, I'm not winning this, so I'm gonna pick my favorite person at the table to be the winner. That's that's kind of I don't know. I feel a little different if you add in the factor that they're just trying to get to their win conditions so they can maybe win the game by pulling that, deal.
It depends on if it's like a 1 or 2 turn kind of thing too, where I've seen that in some of these like EDH gameplay channels, right? Where someone's ahead and then like one of the guys at the table is like, I'm not going to join the alliance right now. I have a plan, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to bark up this tree at the moment.
Yeah.
I get that. I do, but it's not like they're like, yes, master. What do you want, master?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's that's something that I find, another thing that I find fascinating about Casual Commander is the politic, is the politics of it all, and trying to figure out the best way to make deals. Essentially, everybody at the table is trying to win. Even in casual games, most people are trying to win. Excuse me. Like there might be obviously there's wackadoos like us where we're like, we just want to see if we can get our stuff going. But like at the same time, it would be nice to get a win. So politics in Commander has always seemed interesting to me, because there's always this like back and forth tug, of, okay, I'm going to convince you that I'm not going to bother you for a little bit, but there's going to come a time where I'm going to turn on you. It's going to happen. And that's fascinating to me.
I mean, to be fair, aren't you the one who's building a massive group hug deck that has no win condition?
Yeah, pretty much, yes. I am doing that. And it's going to have a couple win conditions, but the win conditions, like test of endurance. If I can get the card on the board and protect it long enough to win the game, then I win. But it's not like, oh, I'm going to turn on everybody. It's just like, oh, I'm like over in my corner. I'm helping everybody build up while I try to win. And if I don't, fine, I helped everybody, I ramped everybody into their win conditions.
Right. It's funny because I'm thinking about it. It's like that whole adage of like, it's not the destination, it's the journey along the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's your deck's like, oh, it's not the win, it's the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
Whereas
exactly.
I played stacks against you the other day, so it's like, it's not the win, it's the friends we lose.
It's the friends we've lost along the way. I think part of the reason why I'm fascinated by competitive EDH and that whole almost lack of politicking over there. Like I know there's politics in competitive Commander. I know that. I'm not that dumb.
But no one's lying about their agenda though.
Exactly. Like there's not that, like people may be bluffing about what they have in their hands, or that kind of thing. Like that kind of stuff happens, and obviously like you said, like there's nobody's sitting down thinking, oh, this guy's just going to do a goofy combo. No, he's coming for me. That's happening there.
Most of the politicking I've seen on like the kind of competitive play is like, hey, would you be able to handle this? Like, do you have removal for this thing over here? And the guy's like, yeah, that's bothering me too. I'll, use it. Like, like maybe like a little trade there, here and there, like semi-beneficial, right?
Yeah. And it's all based on, this is going to help me now. It might help them too, but I really need this help. But that puts me in a position where I can potentially win the game. Like, it's a balance. It's a balance in understanding what could help and hurt. And I think part of the reason why I'm fascinated with that is that prior to getting into Commander and playing it casually, I played kitchen table Magic with my buddies for years, and we played multiplayer. So we were playing 60 card, 4 cards to a deck. It wasn't singleton, and we would build decks, and we used crazy ban lists. I don't even know which. I don't even think they knew which ban lists they were using, and we had a lot of fun. But it essentially was competitive EDH in a way, because both of my friends, they like to win and they play to win. They do not play to do any weird combos. If they're doing a combo, they're doing it to win. So essentially for years, I was playing in that environment. And I think that's why competitive interests me. But I also think that's why I'm drawn to casual, because I can do goofy stuff and not have to worry about getting my head taken off before I can do the goofy stuff,
I get it too, because like it's funny because like you think of like kitchen table Magic, and that's really where my fondest memories of Magic are though too, right? Mm-hmm. Because if not everyone's just like cutthroat, like actually, and all this other stuff, playing meta, well, like you can have some really, really stupid fun games with that, because people aren't playing optimally either, right? Yeah. I mean, it's even worse today with smartphones, but that's a whole different problem. Yeah. But I think the thing to keep in mind is, what are you playing for? What are people doing? And would you like it if someone was doing that to you, right? And it's kind of like the rule of thumb for having children. And I keep having this conversation with my kids. If I'm going to play Magic a certain way, it's how I expect people to play back. Yeah. If you kill me, I will murder your commander.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Expect it. I expect it back. It's the damage or the risk of attacking someone. Attack someone and go, oh, no take backsies. You can't hit me unless you have fog. But like, it's the way the game works. You don't ping people and not expect them to hit you back in the game.
Yeah, well, it's very obvious in drawing first blood in a game of Commander, because I've been in many games where we get to turn 6, 7 before anybody attacks anybody else, because you just know that, okay, if I attack somebody too early and they are able to get their stuff online and can hit back before I can fully build out what I'm building, that could be bad for me. So nobody wants to draw first blood. And that can happen in a lot of games.
It's interesting because, like, thinking back to some of the games I've watched, a lot of times they'll ask, "Are you okay if I hit you for 1 or 2?"
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's fine this time, right? Like, it's that whole aspect of like poking the bear. It's like, are you a cuddly bear or a polar bear?
Oh yeah, and that's and I've seen that too. And a lot of times the response from like, are you okay with me hitting you? At least for my position is, well, yeah, I left myself open. I decided to play the arcane signet instead of my 1/1 blocker. So, I deserve it because I didn't get a blocker out. Like, I've seen that kind of attitude as well. Mm-hmm. But I've also seen the attitude of, what, really? Why me? Like, you always get that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just one of those personalities you end up dealing with, isn't it?
Yeah. Depending on the scenario, it can be justified if it's just one person, like everybody's piling up on that person. Then it kind of gets to a thing. And I've seen that going back to my kitchen table games. I can always tell how the night's going depending on how people, like how my friends would attack each other and that sort of thing. I've always found that, and this is the way I am in real life, and it's kind of weird that I like playing a competitive card game, but I'm a peacemaker. I'm a very peacemaker. So if I notice one of my buddies feeling like he's getting beat up on, I usually stop attacking him. I start backing off, because I'm like, okay, he's getting salty. I need to pull back a little bit.
Beyond that too, like I'm kind of the same way, where I like the table to be a bit even.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I understand being targeted when I'm on top. I fully get that. Yeah. But like if I'm mid to low pack and I'm getting targeted, get that salt shaker out. Like it's
exactly. Well, and that's the thing. And there have been times where I remember, and this isn't, I don't want to just pick on my buddies. Like I've seen this at my LGS playing casually, and you'll see somebody who is on top and everybody's rightfully attacking them and they're going, why are you coming at me? And it's like, dude, you're going to win the game. That's why. Like, we're stopping you from doing that. I'm sorry.
Well,
you know,
and it's at least one of those things that, like, the YouTube folks are good about it, right? And that's unfortunately not how every game of Magic is.
Mhm.
But like, typically the first one knocked out is whoever was on top first.
Yeah.
Typically, because it's like they might be hitting somebody who's like the secondary threat, which is also good form.
Yeah.
Where you're not like, oh hey, this person over here has no creatures, play 2 lands, and they're mana screwed, right? It's like, oh, we're just gonna keep hitting them over and over again. No, like, you want to win the arms race, not waste your ammo on someone who's not even racing you.
Yeah, exactly. Kingmaking, to me, is definitely an interesting concept, and I've often found myself in that position. And this, I will go back to picking on my buddies for many years. In fact, for for the first couple of years I was playing with them, I was the Kingmaker, because I would sit back and play, and I wasn't as good of a player as they were. So they wouldn't see me as a threat. So they would just bing on each other. And half the time I got to decide who won the game, because I was just like, oh, if I attack you, you're dead. And then you're going to kill me, or vice versa. And then the other half of the time they would hit each other to the point where they would kill each other, and I'd win, or I'd kill one and then able to kill the other. I have a Liliana painful quandary story that I'll tell at another time because it's way too long. But I love, oh God, that was one of my favorite wins of all time. But yeah, so I played Kingmaker for a really long time. So I found myself in that position a lot. And so I thought about this a lot. Yeah, if you're killing me, then yeah, I'm going to do everything I can to make it that you can't win if you're the one taking me out. If it's a situation where it's like, okay, I kind of could do something to make somebody win right now, I usually hold back. And I definitely want to avoid the, hey, I'm going to be your Robin and my Batman, or vice versa. Sorry. Strike that, reverse it. Strike all of that and reverse all of that. I'll cut it out in post. No, I won't. Every time I say that, I'll leave that in. Anyway.
I mean, think about it though, right? Like, if all you're doing is making kings, are you not just a peasant or the jester, right?
Yeah.
Like, when do you get your own empire?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, again, I'm agreeing with that, being the person with the ultra hug deck.
Right, but that's the goal, right?
Yeah,
like,
true.
And I think about like my freaking Sigarda deck. Like, that's how it turned out. The last time I played it was like, oh hey, everyone's drawing a lot of cards, and the guy who ended up winning the game left me alive because I was fuel to his fire.
Yeah, and
I wasn't kingmaking. I wasn't doing anything.
That's the thing. Like you're and I think that's why I like the idea of the hug deck that I'm building. Is it's I'm not picking one person and saying you're gonna win. I'm gonna make it so you win. My deck is saying it is anybody's game, and I'm going to give you all of the resources. Do your thing. Like,
you're the guy who shows up to the Roman Colosseum handing everyone firearms. Like, have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy. Here's a bazooka. Whee!
You're in there too. You're not throwing them down. You're not on the throne. You're like...
Oh yeah. It's like bazookas for everybody. Yay! Anyway. And that about does it for today. You can find DM Dingo on Twitch or on the FDS Discord. You can find me, FDSMTG, here on YouTube, FDSMTG, as well as on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, FDSMTG, basically everywhere. Also on TikTok as well. Thank you so much for listening, and you all have a wonderful day.